How most people recommend Spy Family. Look at this super cute found family story. It's so funny and endearing. Anya face. Ugh, both the mom and dad are hot. Maybe even romance? How I recommend Spy Family. War is hell even after it's finished. It leaves people and animals alike with scars and is propagated by others who care not for their fellow man, manipulating the masses with falsehoods and destructive ideologies. Ignorance isn't bliss, it's a sin. The fun thing is that we're both right. Oh YouTube, and it's about time I got back to another manga review. That whole bit on My Hero Academia isn't so much of a review as it is a retrospective is also a gross word that I don't want to use. But either way, let's talk about Spy Family, a hot new anime that just came out in a manga I've been reading for, oh god, it's been like 4 years? Oh, 3 years? 3 years, thank god. Spy Family is written and drawn by Endo Tatsuya, published in 2019 by Shueisha, and runs in Jump Plus in Japan. You can read the manga in English and many other languages on the Manga Plus app in available areas with an up-to-date bi-weekly release. It is currently resting at 9 collected volumes in Japan with over 60 chapters. I'm not specific because there are a mixture of extra chapters and straight continuations of previous ones. Split chapters are pretty strict. So what is our story about? In a post-war world full of tension, the nation of Westalis employs one of their best spies, codenamed Twilight, to infiltrate their neighbors in Ostania, Berlin, to take out the leader of the National Unity Party, Donovan Desmond, who threatens the current truce between East and West. However, the only way to get close to his target is by creating a fake family and enrolling a child into the prestigious Eden Academy, for he only shows himself in public for school-related events. His time limit is 7 days. That last bit is set up for a joke, don't worry, he gets it done. But that's pretty much the tone of this story. Typing everything out like this makes the story sound more dire than it is when what you're in for is a slightly episodic story of 3 misfits pretending to be a family. The Forger family is composed of a spy father, Lloyd, a telepathic daughter, Anya, and an assassin mother, Yor. The fun comes from seeing how each of them tries to hide their secret identity from the others, and how the smallest one knows everything that's going on, but because she's a child, it mostly boils down to instigating stressful situations for her own amusement. So, you know, a normal comedy for the whole family to enjoy. And that's not to say that the plot isn't important, but it is malleable to the basic family-oriented premise. You're here for the characters and their interactions, but they are propped up by the series' setting, plot, and tone in equal measure. So let's first talk about that setting, a fake world focused on the neighboring countries of Westalis and Ostania. It seems to be based off of Germany around the 1960s or 70s during the Cold War. It means the background building and items seem familiar but a bit old-fashioned. Their TV may look like this, but that familiarity helps the story feel a bit more contemporary at times. The real standout part of this setting is the state of the world and the people that live in it. While it seems pretty normal on the surface, deeper down people are agitated by the tension of post-war time. The story plays with these two ideas depending on the type of plot that is currently happening. It's typically light with Anya when she's at school, but with Lloyd and Yor, the underbelly of society shows its head more often, even if it gets played off with a light tone and a laugh most of the time. The plot, as I stated before, is simple and flexible, but it does have hooks of its own. While Desmond does attend certain school events, he mostly only visits them for the sake of his oldest son, an inferior scholar, and their special get-togethers. This helps him get to the truly elite of the people in his nation. It's Anya's job to attain 8 Stella Stars through acts such as excellent grades, scholastic feats, or extraordinary contributions to society. Then there are the Tonitrus bolts, demerits where if you collect 8 of those, you face expulsion. So with the operation pretty much laid out, Anya being the tool to get Lloyd in close enough to do his job, you might be wondering why Yor is needed. And that is because Eden is a very old school that doesn't believe in the idea of a single parent household, so she has to play the part of the mother. And springboarding off of that, how about we get to our main attraction, our cast. Oh boy, if you ever wanted a modern story where you can use the terms deuteragonist and tritagonist without sounding like an asshole, here it is. Our 3 main leads are Lloyd, fake name, masterclass spy, man of many faces, upset tummy. Anya, Esper, probably a 4-year-old posing as a 6-year-old, lover of peanuts, child of many facial expressions. And finally Yor, assassin, probably the strongest woman alive, internet's current favorite mommy, and can pound it down like no one else. These three make up our Spy Cross family. Yes, I know, I'm very talented. But more so than just talking about these characters, we also need to talk about their relationships with each other. All of them are aware that they're in a fake family, only together for their own reasons. Lloyd needed Anya for the sake of his mission, Operation Strix, because his superiors decided that a child working their way up was the safest option. Anya asserted herself and tagged along because she could read his mind and thought it would be fun. Yor just wanted Lloyd to pose as her boyfriend for a small party, but he needed her to play the mother for Anya's interview to get into Eden, and they both stayed together to keep up appearances and for the sake of convenience. We'll start with Yor because she's the furthest out of the loop. The reason Yor was looking for a fake boyfriend was because she's 27 and alone, and that in and of itself is seen as a crime, even today. Now, even though I think spinsters are fun, and old maids are cute, and Christmas cakes are delicious, seeing how this is during the Cold War era and spies and revolutionaries are running around, it's sometimes common for people to rat out others to the secret police to get them in trouble for the pettiest of reasons, and they'll respond for the pettiest of excuses, such as not having someone to hold you at night. She lied to her brother and co-workers, all for the sake of getting eyes off of her to make sure her assassination job wouldn't be found out. And through the power of a convenient plot structure, it all turned out for the best. As for her relationship with the other two, she thinks those two are actually blood related, and she's standing in for Anya's dead mother and is helping fulfill her last wish of getting her daughter into a good school, all while hiding the fact that she is still an assassin who works for the Garden, an organization that works for the shadow government of Ostania. And the reason she has that job is because her parents died when she was younger, leaving her to take care of her younger brother. Overall, I'd say Yor is a fun and simple character, a little socially awkward and inept, a person who goes at her own pace but is fiercely protective of the people she holds dear. Thanks to her assassin work, she's inhumanly strong to the point of putting even a super spy like Lloyd on the back foot in terms of physical abilities. While she truly thinks she's just helping out a single father with his daughter, she does genuinely take on a stepmother role towards Anya, doting on her and worrying about her well-being. This also comes with real step-parent angst of worrying if she's a good enough mother figure or if she's stepping over certain boundaries. Her relationship with Lloyd is friendly, if not a little steamy from time to time because of the act of pretending that they're an actual married couple. She has a deep respect for both the man's fake persona and genuine actions he takes to try and be a better father. From finding the energy to spend time with his family when he's clearly worn out from his own work, to accepting her even when it's insinuated that she made nightly visits to men to provide for her brother. Lloyd Forger, on the other hand, is someone who doesn't exist. A fake person to get his mission done. Twilight is blunt and straight to the point on the inside, and whatever he needs to be shown on the outside. A man of many faces, wears one of a doting father and a loving husband in enemy territory. Practical, tactical, and always one step ahead. This perfect spy is being put through the ringer by having to believe in a little girl to handle a problem he'd much rather do on his own. But with a bit of sympathy, some reassurance from Yor, and hard work on Anya's part, he's able to have faith that she'll be able to keep the operation afloat. If just barely. Lloyd is in an odd situation where he's doing his best to try and understand a child, but it's one that can read his mind. He's constantly being thrown for a loop on how to read her as she tries to act in a way that he wants her to, but is also compelled by her childlike impulses. He thinks highly of Yor and appreciates what she's able to bring to the parenting table with her experience that he himself lacks. He thinks she's perfect for the mother role, but if there's a difference between the two of them, it's how they see the family. Yor is willing to accept that her job might cause her to leave them, while Lloyd is fully expecting to leave the both of them once the mission is completed. He's constantly catching himself saying things like, "when you're older" to Anya, knowing he won't be there for that. He's in a state of worrying about both of their well-beings to the point of even letting Anya go to a better orphanage at the start of the series, risking the mission for her safety. Anya, on the other hand, knows everything that's going down with everyone. No one can hide their secrets from her, so she's very aware of Lloyd's mission and Yor's secret job, and she's equally excited by both. She will go out of her way to snoop on both of her parents' secret identities. This ability, however, doesn't really get in the way of how she interacts with them as parental guardians. She's still a child, and it shows through her actions and understanding of the world and people around her. She knows that Yor cares about her, but some of their lessons get a little muddled in communication. She honestly can't get a read on Lloyd's feelings because his own thoughts are a bit too complicated for her to comprehend as well. It's only with the other students where her mind reading is really addressed socially. Using it to dodge balls is fine, but cheating at cards and on tests would rouse unwanted suspicion. If there's one trait that the whole Fortune family shares, it's their sense of right. In their own way, they all want to help the people around them. Yor is the most straightforward of them, willing to jump to the rescue of an old woman who gets mugged. Anya is inspired by her cartoons and the excitement of saving the world, but she does genuinely care for the safety and feelings of others. Lloyd, on the other hand, is a bit more pragmatic and willing to let small mishaps slide for the greater good and the sake of his own cover, but can be swayed by the other two into acting, like following Yor's lead and Anya's hidden nudging to capture the purse snatcher after victim blaming the old woman beforehand. It's pretty funny how lax things are between the three of them for the sake of comedy. Lloyd isn't weirded out by Yor's superhuman strength at all. Yor is a bit of a scatterbrain, so the idea of a psychiatrist beating up his patients as a new form of treatment is also something exciting and admirable about Lloyd. Anya gets a free pass because she's a child, so she's just their slightly dimmed daughter that has a really good intuition. Their supporting cast is also fun and varied. You have Frankie, Twilight's third-party informant and occasional babysitter, the butt of many a joke, but the more level-headed one when Twilight might starting to be getting a little sentimental about his family. Then you have Yuri, Yor's little brother, who has a massive sister complex and works for the secret police, a secret even to his sister. More lies, more jokes, way more violence. Then you have Anya's schoolmates like Becky, who lives in the upper crust of society, and Damien Desmond, the second son of their target, who Anya tries to get along with. She manages to make close friends with Becky, but Damien is a bit too smug, and Anya puts him in his place a bit too strongly on their first day. The child is confused, full of new emotions and unprocessed insecurities. So, an average first grade boy. And with such an interesting cast of characters, it gives you a large quantity of faces to look at, and I think expressions are some of the artist's strongest points. Nothing like knowing what will be a meme before it shows up in the mainstream, Backgrounds are also nice and dated for the time period, making things feel a bit more authentic, even if some amenities feel a bit off. I'm looking at you, Aquarium. But what do I know, the last time I went to Aquarium was in the early aughts. But because of Yor and Lloyd's line of work, we also see different places than just the city, from underground sports arenas to gigantic cruise ships, and even some extra missions focusing on the great outdoors. I really love this page of the star-reflected lake. I love this aesthetic. And slightly off topic, maybe a lot off topic, I've come to enjoy digital editions of books a whole lot more. They keep double pages intact. It makes me appreciate people who stitch them together in scans and clean them up way more, especially after doing this one myself. Pain in the ass. But back on track, let's get to the final most important piece of this story that I think holds everything together, and that is the tone. We start off with a murderous car crash that leads into Twilight stealing pictures of the foreign minister's hairpiece falling off to keep him from being blackmailed. This tightrope walking of keeping things light but serious at the same time is probably the most interesting thing in this story for me. Tone is the tool that separates when hitting someone is worrying, funny, or exciting, and with the right tone and timing, it can be all of those things at once. We can be talking about kidnapping little girls over photos of a hairpiece to a dead guy on the floor because that hairpiece represents something more than that. Because the man holding the gun hates the people across the border with all of his heart. But sometimes killing a group of people is a backdrop gag to putting a fake ring on someone's finger. The contrast between this family comedy piece that the Forgers want to protect and the absolute worst of humanity that the scars of war have left behind is what makes me hold this story in high regard. That being said, these serious moments are sprinkled lightly into its comedy. It heightens the already fun peaceful parts and let the serious ones stand out even more. Spy Family is cute, fun, and like most stories dealing with war currently are poignant. It's a story about understanding that you know nothing at all, and you should be constantly asking questions. You should always be thinking, and you should care about your fellow man. It's about lies and the truth beneath them and within. All three of our main characters embodies these ideas as they go through life with their fake family, but are slowly changing and growing from their time spent together. However, it's being told in a way that is easy to get into and focused on the characters being explored and seeing the world through their eyes first and foremost. The anime is on break until the fall, so give it a watch to catch yourself up, and make sure to check out the manga. It's still just as good, I promise. I highly recommend this to everyone watching. If you want a secret opening that I can't post on YouTube, be sure to check my Twitter in the video description. If you like this video, there's a button you can press for that, and if you want to see more, there's many buttons you can press for that as well. Till we meet again, mata ao, until we meet again.